I'm Zarina Dimitrova, a strategic partner and mentor to businesses in the process of transformation. Join me on Grow and Learn as we explore a range of topics from personal development and career advancement to relationship building and financial management. With practical advice, inspiring stories, and expert interviews, we'll give you the tools you need to thrive in every aspect of your life. Join us as we share insights and strategies that can help you achieve your personal and professional growth objectives. Have you heard the term business kung fu? What do you think about the term business energetics? Have you heard about improving your business through mindset and energetic practices? This is totally up my alley. My guest today is a fellow Qigong trainer. I'm not a trainer, but I'm just a practitioner, but he's a trainer, Craig Cooke. He's based in California. He's an entrepreneur with 26 years behind his back in running innovative companies. The last one he saw and now started his own consulting business. And today we're going to be speaking about his new book, Business Kung Fu. Welcome, Craig.
And thank you, Zarina. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to share with your audience. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me. So tell us how this all began, Craig. When did you realize that these practices that you're now describing in the book are working, that they're doing the magic for you?
Oh, sure. So the concept behind Business Kung Fu, why it's even titled that to begin with, is I studied Chinese Kung Fu from age 17 to 25 really intensely. And then I started my company at age 25. And a lot of the principles and lessons I learned from Chinese Kung Fu, I actually applied them to how I thought about my company, structuring it, modeling it, my mindset, discipline, perseverance, all these aspects that I learned as principles of Chinese martial arts in general, but the system I was studying was the foundation is Chinese Kung Fu. And really applied that. And over the years, it helped me along the way as I grew my company and then eventually sold it and, stayed on for a few years as CEO in my role. And now I'm on this new chapter in life and I really wanted to share that. But the concept is an actual practical direct application through my business experience.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of these principles? I mean, I'm aware of, the diligence of being, well, you tell me, what are some principles of Kung Fu and of martial arts that apply perfectly to the business world?
Sure. So you mentioned like discipline, for example, is really big. I have a whole chapter on discipline. And the way I see discipline, there's three aspects. Is one, showing up. Yeah, which is funny. It just seems like, well, of course, but not everyone really shows up. I'm talking like showing up every day to work on your business, to better yourself, better your organization, right? Showing up. But then that's half the battle. There's more to it. So, because once you show up, what are you doing? You have to be productive. You actually have to, get busy producing things that are going to advance yourself, build your capabilities, build your organization. And then third is being effective. That's where you're starting to create true value for others, so that as you're running your company, you're creating value and people are going to compensate you fairly for that value you're producing. And that's really what discipline is all about, those three aspects. But if we take a step back from that, I have a model called the 5 elements of entrepreneurship. And you're probably familiar with a 5-element theory, since you've practiced Qigong. 5-element theory for your audience is a theory based in Chinese culture that's ancient, and it permeates throughout the culture, from martial arts to music to food to medical systems, spiritual systems. And those 5 elements, in theory, all of us have this constitution of 5 elements in all things. In the Chinese system, those 5 elements are fire and earth, metal, water, and wood. Now, what I've done is borrowed from that 5-element theory, and through my personal experience of running a company and also observing other entrepreneurs and that have led to a successful career, I identified 5 elements that are required and placed it into this theoretical model. So the 5 elements of entrepreneurial success is really passion, starts with passion. Passion leads to discipline, and I'm talking about a generative cycle, a creative generative cycle. That discipline leads to expertise, and then that expertise leads to confidence, and then confidence leads to faith. And as you go through that generative cycle, you're building the potential of these elements and then filling that potential. But then as you continue to go through that and evolve, you need to maintain balance. And that's what's very challenging for entrepreneurs, because of all the things that are thrown at us, we get out of balance very easily. So how quickly can you get back to balance and maintain that balance? And then there's also the destructive cycle, where if your mindset isn't right, those elements can start to diminish and go in the reverse direction. And then there's interrelationships between the elements, where they can have positive and negative impacts to each other based on a variety of mindset things that are in play.
Mm-hmm. So let's make it a bit more tangible and practical. Let's say you identify, based on this model that you've created, the element that is lacking. How do you address, let's say, the level of confidence? Do you look at the preceding element, and what tools do you use then to help the business person achieve confidence, in addition to understanding that they actually need to work on their what was it? Knowledge, capability,
expertise. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Great question. So yes, let's look at confidence. So confidence, let's say there could either be that excess or deficient condition. Let's talk about the deficient condition first,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if someone doesn't have the proper confidence, it's going to impede their progress as an entrepreneurial on their journey to success. Why? Because if they're not confident, they're going to not be able to sell effectively, because when you're out there selling what you have to offer, people pick up on your confidence. And if you're not delivering in a confident fashion, they tend to question, like, if you really know what you're doing. Like, is this person really a safe bet? Am I going to be able to rely on them if I hire them, or give them a contract? Are they going to perform? Or are they going to mess things up and I'm going to end up getting fired? Right? That's what goes through a lot of buyers' minds. So it's super important from a sales perspective to be confident. But another aspect of confidence is actually your self-worth. And I think you even talk about self-worth a lot with people, if I'm not mistaken. And if someone doesn't have that confidence, they tend to not value themselves, and thus are not charging the value of their services in the marketplace. They just their mindset isn't correct, and they just aren't fairly compensated, even if they are really good at what they do. But if they don't have the proper mindset, they're just not confident for some reason, then they're not going to have the earning potential that they could if they had that confident mindset. So what do you do to strengthen confidence, right? To get to the other part of your question. So as we looked at element that is the precursor to confidence is expertise. So that means, what is expertise? Expertise is where you need various skills that you develop to a high discipline level. Mastery of your craft, because as you get better at something, you just naturally get more confident. And everyone has their own personality and challenges. So even if they're really good, there could still be a confidence issue. But let's at least say, in one person, as they get better and better and better, there's a natural confidence that starts to come about, especially as they experience other people complimenting them on their expertise, noticing their expertise, recognizing it, acknowledging it. Then that confidence just starts to naturally build. However, say the next person, that even if all that is happening, they still have a block, right? Well, the aspect of confidence is really yeah, that negative self chatter that people contend with, that's what kind of impedes that confidence, where there's like the imposter syndrome, or people are just like, yeah, I'm not good enough, or who do you think you are, or yeah, you're just, all these negative things. And that's a daily battle that all of us have to face. And getting the right mindset around that, I found that affirmations are very helpful, positive affirmations. And that's in the form of having a very present statement, like I am such and such, I am confident, just saying daily affirmations to yourself. And there's a ton of them out there for all kinds of different purposes. But that's for someone that doesn't have the right mindset, that's one example of something that can help develop that confidence. And then discipline does have an aspect. There's the grandparent relationship, like the expertise is the parental relationship to confidence, but then discipline is a grandparent relationship to confidence. So the more discipline someone has, it creates the potential for confidence to a greater extent. So as the more they employ discipline, it is going to help with that confidence as well.
Mm-hmm. Just to introduce briefly this part of my talk that maybe you were referring to regarding self-worth, it actually had three components. One of them was programming from early childhood, that is, or possibly from previous life for the ones who believe in previous lives, but it's irrelevant whether you believe it or not. It's still the allegory and the mental model that you're creating and carrying inside, irrespective of what you believe in. So that's the early childhood programming. The second one is indeed the mindset, your internal self-talk. And the third one is future pacing. That's your purpose and how much this purpose is actually driving you to have an impact and to see your importance. So this purpose actually grows your importance naturally. This one actually, these three elements, they're just a different prism to look at, or maybe an earlier stage to look at the expertise, because I can totally see how expertise influences confidence. And I was like back tracing my experience in these things that I'm teaching. And you're right, the more feedback you get, the more achievement you see from other people, that are applying these tools, the more confidence grows, irrespective of what I'm just saying about programming, reprogramming, and mindset, and so on. So both are true. Both are true. One is more inner work. The other, like experience, is more the outer living of it.
Yes, I really like what you said there. And if I can expand upon that, like when you're talking about purpose, I can align that to the first element of passion, because if you really define your purpose and if you're living your purpose, you get joy out of that, fulfillment and joy. And that's in the heart center, and that's where passion resides too. And you're going to be passionate, which innate passion is discipline, right? Because if you're passionate about something, you're going to go at it, and it doesn't even feel like work. It really fuels discipline. There is a time though when discipline needs to kick in, because again, what life throws at us. But another interesting thing you said, especially from early childhood, yes, is valid, I believe. And that's where healing comes into play, where all of us have, we've all had encounters that have been negative.
Sorry, Craig, your connection slowed down a little bit, and I didn't hear what you said. Would you repeat?
Oh, sure. Sorry about that. So getting to programming with in play, and healing is important because we all need it, because all of us have had traumas. None of us have led a perfect life. We've all had encounters that have been negative and affected us in certain ways. And that programming, as you stated, can really detract from confidence. So going through various aspects of healing modalities can be really helpful with that. Just like we mentioned Qigong for a quick second, that's a great modality to help heal, bring about healing, so that you can wipe that away and then it just helps confidence. And so that's an aspect of where in that confidence element, an activity that directly impacts that particular element going through a healing process.
Yeah. While you were running your long-lived company that you were the CEO of at the end, the 26-year-old long engagement with this company, what are some of the major hurdles that you realized you had despite of everything that you applied? Were there some major hurdles that you had to overcome?
Oh, yes, right from the very beginning. Started the company with very limited resources. So I started with two friends from college, and we each put in $1,300 each. And I had a computer. And that's how we started the company. And we really, didn't have much. So it was really a struggle to get things going. That's all we had, and that's all we put in. And those first 5 years were really tough, just a slow grind of trying to get sales revenue and grow it to a certain extent to then finally hire other people. The first 5 years was really brutal, contending with revenue challenges and trying to stay profitable, et cetera, et cetera. As we got past that and started to grow, then all kinds of other challenges came into play, where managing the workload, hiring staff, not getting ahead of ourselves, cash flow challenges, the markets that we were serving, how are we going to continue to grow, adapting and shifting our target market. These are all different challenges that came into play as we continued to grow. Like, it's funny because as we grew, oh yeah, once we get to this level, we won't have these problems anymore. Okay, but now there's a whole new set of problems that arise. Yeah, so yeah, it's an interesting journey for sure.
Mm-hmm. And so what kind of practices did you apply, or have you recognized some of the teachings that you have in the book that you see, oh, now I actually did that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So in my martial arts study, the founder of the system that I study, he has a methodology called SCRA, which stands for Spontaneous Creative Rhythmic Adaptation Method. It's a training method. And that is something that was applied in running the company, because the business environment is highly dynamic. It is constantly evolving. And the industry I was in, technology and internet, because it was a online company to begin with, a digital first company way back in 1996, and everything was evolving rapidly at a rapid pace. New technologies coming out every week, et cetera, et cetera. And that SCRA method, adaptability, that was a big thing, because those first 2 years we were struggling with our target market, and we had to adapt. We had to pivot and change and say, oh, let's go after this other target market instead. We can still service this one, but let's now focus over here, which turned out to be really good. But after a period of time, is like, oh, we need to change again, because this target market, we're only going to get so far. Let's go after this different target market. And that was all about being adaptable as circumstances came. And then there's that aspect of, the name of my company was Rhythm, right? Mm-hmm. So rhythm is in everything and everywhere, agency. And there's a certain rhythm.
It was a digital marketing agency?
Correct, a digital marketing agency.
Mm-hmm. And
yes,
from what I
correct.
understood, you started it in 96, so the very beginning of this kind of business. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, 1996. There was only 30 million people worldwide online at the time. Yeah. Wow. And now, whatever, we have billions of people online now. It was early on. So not a lot of people were online, and the market was small, and people didn't even know what the internet was. We had to do a lot of education to people. But it grew very fast, and that's where we had to be very spontaneous too, as things were changing. Really that SCRA method, being spontaneous, being able to adapt, and also being very highly creative as the business environment was constantly evolving. What kind of new solutions could we bring to the table? And that takes a lot of creative thought and exploration.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it takes it, but did you naturally have it, or did you use some tools to open up your mind and to become more creative about it? Do you have a special process?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, it was more ingrained in me. One, I was just naturally creative to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I studied music at a young age, so I played piano and guitar. So I had this natural creative ability that I'm wired with. But from my martial arts training, it is highly creative, especially with that training method, spontaneous, creative, rhythmic adaptation method. There's so much creativity on how I was trained in martial arts and how to create as you're in the flow, because you get into this rhythm state, I like to call it, which is a flow state. I like to call it a rhythm state. Um, and it's a highly creative, um, in the moment, present moment that you get into. And that's the big thing that I learned is really when we're working on business problems to get really present.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're worrying about things that are in the future, or you're really angry or stressed out about things that have happened, it blocks your channeling in a sense of receiving information.
Absolutely.
And that's where you can become creative, right? Like I know you understand.
Yeah, I
Um,
totally understand. I'm sure
so
the
that
listeners understand
training,
as well. We
oh,
have a
good,
short
good.
delay. Sorry for that. Yeah.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Yeah, good. So yeah, it was really ingrained in me through that training. So I had the natural affinity, but then it was further developed through my martial arts training as well. Another aspect too, with creative, especially like problem solving, a lesson that I applied that's in my book that I write about and explain, was the process of, we called it discipline technique, where you evolved a certain technique to such a high level. It's like developing a technique to its highest level, where you're able to break material. So we used to break cement, red bricks, and half of it was getting your hands or your feet conditioned and ready to be able to break. That's half, but the other half was really in your mind. So it was being able to focus, and where you focus is super important, because if you focus on the brick, and when you go to hit it, all that shock is just going to go right back up your hand and into your arm, and it really hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel good. But if you focus past the brick of where
Yeah.
you want to be, where you want your hand to be, you go right through it. And then there's also this aspect of confidence, and I would say even faith, really. It's really faith that you have absolute certainty that you can break this brick. And when you have that focus and faith combined, you go right through it. And I would use that analogy to my staff. I want to use it myself, but to my staff when we to problem solve when there's challenges, things that weren't working, and we needed to solve a problem. And people tend to get fixated on the problem itself, and then they get agitated, and they just kind of get nowhere. They get stuck, and they get a term called spun out. Like, it's a term that been used here. You know, spun
Yeah.
out, just you go nowhere,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're just in your mind too much. Right. And really, if you can focus to where you want to be, the goal that you want to achieve, that aspect of where you want to be, it really helps during that problem solving process. And also believing, there's at times when talking with my staff members, you can tell just through they would just, actually, I know you can do it. I believe in you. Sometimes they need to hear that because they have that self-doubt that gets in the way of their own problem solving. So that faith and focus is super important. So I'd use that analogy quite a bit when it came to problem solving.
I really love the example with the brick, the focusing
Mhm.
past the brick. I've actually heard about this before when it comes to breaking in bricks with martial arts, but I
Yes.
never made the link. But it makes absolute sense. And if I may briefly share one of the exercises that has worked for me really well, that is similar to what you're saying now. Go past the problem. How can we actually reach this point and get yourself in the proper state, it is to imagine yourself, kind of embody the future you as you would be once the problem is gone, or once you've solved the whatever you want to solve, or once you've achieved whatever you wanted to achieve. So you put yourself in this state of being, and from this point you ask the question, okay, how do I solve the problem, or what do I need to do, what is my next step? Because this is the highest point of conditioning that you can have for solving of this particular problem. Yeah,
totally agree. That's that aspect of manifestation and how to manifest your reality in a sense. I love what you just said. That's a great, another practical application of what I talked about. And I totally get it. Yes, it's really putting yourself in that future state, which is where the focus is past. Yeah, that's perfect. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree.
Yeah, but the comparison with the allegory with the brick is perfect. Before we continue, Craig, I'd just like to mention to everybody listening, and now that we're speaking about flow and productivity, that I've been taking this drink called Magic Drink, and it is Magic Mind, sorry. Magic Mind, but it's a magic drink, actually. It's all natural herbal teas, and it boosts energy. It's actually crushing procrastination, and it gets you in the flow. So it's a productivity increaser without boosting yourself with coffee and with all kinds of stuff. Do check it out, because I have a discount code for this one. I'll put it in the link. Just for your information, the 4 things that are really important that have helped me since I've been drinking this, which has been the past month, and I've been quite productive in the past month. So these are nootropics. These help with focus. Matcha tea helps with energy. Adaptogens reduces stress, and vitamins for immunity. So again, Magic Mind. Thanks for that, Craig, for your patience.
Oh, no problem. That sounds great. That sounds awesome. That sounds like something I'd like to try, actually, because I love health and nutrition and adaptogens and all those things are actually really wonderful. So
I have never done sponsored products before, and it's the first time I'm ever doing this, and I'm really beyond happy I gave it a go, because I would normally say no. I don't want to be coming up with all kinds of products and promote products. It's a different type of a podcast. But they said the founder of the company is actually an entrepreneur, and he burned out, and he had heart issues because of overly coffee consumption. And I saw his story, and I related, like, I understand how stressed out people can be. He said this is a replacement of coffee, and it doesn't have the negative effects of coffee. It still puts you in the flow. And I tried it, and it's really amazing. Like, I wouldn't be waving bottles here if I wasn't.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. It's authentic because you've actually tried it. And you've seen it actually work for you, so you're just sharing it. So I think that's awesome. Like, I'm interested. What is it called again? Magic Mind. Magic Mind.
It's called Magic Mind. And the thing is, you're supposed to have 1 in the morning, but it tastes so good that I sometimes have 2 because it's just nice.
Oh, that's great. Speaking of burnout, that is another aspect that I talked about in my book also. Is because my story is I was so consumed by my business that I went from a excellent state of health to 10 years later to a very poor state of health. And then that continued for about another 7 years at least, until I really realized, wow, I really have to change things, because I was really burning out. Like, I wasn't able to perform like I used to, and I had to make some drastic changes. And that's where Qigong came into play. And then all other aspects of nutrition, and then exercise. I was actually diagnosed with diabetes when I was 46, I believe. And it all started to make sense, because I was like, wow, okay, that's why I have my foggy brain. That's why I get so tired in the afternoon. And that's why when I get home at night after dinner, I crash out on the couch when I don't even intend to. And all of a sudden I wake up and found that I just slept for 2 hours.
And do you
All these
assign this
different
to
things
stress?
that,
Sorry for interrupting. I'm just curious, did you
oh,
assign
sure.
this to stress mostly, or was it also poor diet?
It was a number of factors. Stress, absolutely. Poor diet, absolutely. Lack of sleep,
Lack of sleep is
absolutely.
terrible. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lack of activity, absolutely. So it was all these different things. I was just so consumed with working on the business, in the business, and on the business, um, taking care of everyone else's needs that I neglected my own needs. And that's something that is a big lesson I learned that I share in the book. And I have a saying in the book that it is important to be of service to self so that you can be of service to others for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was being of service to others, but then I found myself being just totally burned out and unable to perform like I used to be able to.
Yeah.
Now I've turned that around. I've reversed diabetes 100% naturally, no drugs, no medications, just 100% naturally. And I just had my most recent blood panel actually yesterday, got my results back and all good.
Yeah.
And I feel just like I did when I started my company today.
How
And
long did it take?
I
How long
can
did
be
it
of
take you
service.
to reverse your diabetes?
I would say, because I had it full on, I probably got it down to the pre-diabetes level after the first year of really working on it. And then I would get into not having it and then kind of would bounce back and forth between pre-diabetes and not having it for a couple years. So I think after about 3, 4 years is when it really kicked in, where my A1C number, which is the most important number, fell into the normal range.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some other markers too, but today, like all my markers are normal, which is fantastic. And then there's another aspect to it as well, um, from an emotional, mental standpoint. That's like a physical health thing, but then there's also your emotional, mental health.
Right.
And in 2014, we were in a rapid growth phase. We were on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing private companies in the country. We made that list 5 years in a row. So this is probably like year 3 into that. So our company was growing fast. We were super busy. And I just was out of balance with myself. My mental state just was out of balance. My emotional state just out of balance, just very impatient, get triggered easily. It wasn't myself. When I knew of Qigong through my martial arts, the martial Qigong and some health and wellness Qigong from when I was younger. And I knew of medical Qigong, but I never experienced it. Then I found this gentleman in 2014 that was referred to me. And I said, wow, interesting. I'll go check it out. And went to see him once a month. And after 6 months, I found myself completely centered and balanced again. It was wonderful. And then he asked me at that time, would you like to learn how to do this? And I said, absolutely, because I just had such a fascination with it to begin with. So in January of 2015, I started studying, and I've been studying that nonstop, the medical and spiritual Qigong. There's 3 branches, primarily martial, medical, and spiritual Qigong. And today I'm even enrolled in a doctorate program for Chinese energy medicine. And it was such a game changer for me, my business, because I became much more centered, more relaxed and calm, natural self. Even some of my employees had mentioned it to me, like, "Oh yeah, you're different. you're more chill. You're more calm these days." And I just kind of like smiled to myself because I didn't let anyone know what I was doing. But it was a game changer for me, and that's something that I'm sharing with people today.
So when you say sharing, is it also described in the book, or do you mean when you consult people, how do you integrate the medical Qigong in the consultations?
Sure. So it is mentioned in the book, although it's just a small mention in the book. because it's mostly focused on the martial arts and how it, like I mentioned earlier, but it is mentioned. That's probably gonna be another later book, actually. Um, and how I do that today is I do that energy medicine work with people. So when they come see me on a one-on-one basis, I'm able to do that. I have a lot of professional oriented people that come to see me, business professionals and so forth. And a lot of them have high stress. And I find that anxiety is the most common form of condition that people have when they come in to see me. And that could be coming from just extreme stress. It could be a lot of excessive obsessive nervousness. It could be fear, that just rises up. Fear resides in the kidneys and it rises up to the heart center, creates anxiety. So I work with people one-on-one, but then also as I'm starting to kind of bring this together. I'm at my early stage of my next chapter, but workshops, I've have some workshop formats and I've done some. I was just in Sedona, Arizona a few weeks ago, and I led some Qigong routines in the morning, 2 days, and for this mastermind group. And I also have another event coming up in a couple of weeks where I'm going to be leading everyone through some Qigong routines. So there's that environment, teaching people. These are some tools that you can utilize to just help you relax and become more balanced. Especially these one set of exercises I am able to teach. They has 3 components of purging, tonifying, and regulating. You could be familiar with this, but the purging is getting rid of all that negative energy that's within you that we stuff
I'm
inside
actually not
from our
familiar with
traumas.
this. I only started Qigong in November. I'm not that, I'm a beginner still.
Okay. Okay. Well, very good. So there's this one exercise that it utilizes, for the audience that may not be that familiar, Qigong looks a lot like Tai Chi. A lot of people have seen Tai Chi, but Tai Chi has the martial applications where Qigong doesn't necessarily have that. It can, but it doesn't at times. So there's these slow, simple movements, and there's breathing along with that. And in this particular exercise, there's also visualization where you're visualizing different colors of light. And then there's also sound, when there's different types of sound that target specific organs in the body, because our organs in the body are storehouses for certain emotions that get stored from these negative interactions that we have with people, places, situations, things. So this one particular set of exercises purges, meaning it gets rid of the negative energy that is stuffed down and clustered up as stagnation and blockages, and breaks that apart, disperses it. Now that space has been created, and then the exercise then also tonifies, utilizing light, meaning it fills that empty space that's just been created. So you're strengthening, so tonifying, you're strengthening, bringing in the more positive aspects, right? And then regulating just means it's balancing, creating that sense of balance. And that's through the combination of the sound and the light, the breathing and the motions and movement and so forth, is creating a balancing effect for the individual. And that's something for me that this one particular exercise that I would do daily. And it was really great because the stresses in life don't stop. They keep coming, especially when you're running a company. You do this stuff and all of a sudden everything is just rainbows and nothing ever comes at you. Life is always throwing things at you. There's unpleasant surprises, but you're just better equipped to manage through it. You don't control it because we really can't control the external circumstances. We can control ourselves, and really what I like to say is manage it. So you're able to manage things much better because you're better equipped.
While you were talking again, I was reflecting on the practices that I'm doing and how I see our construction as energy bodies and also the physical layer. And
Yes.
I was thinking when you're doing medical Qigong, is there something that like a particular area that would be responsible for the way you receive or your abundance even? Because this is the same way you can medically heal yourself through sending energy there. You could potentially charge a certain area for business success. And is there such a thing in
Sure.
Qigong?
Sure. So abundance, I would say, a lot of abundance, you have to have that right mental state of being able to receive abundance, right? And there's different aspects that come to with that. So there could be a couple things. One, abundance, someone has to be secure in themselves that they deserve abundance because of the work that they've done. That kind of comes back to that aspect of self-worth, right? So if someone is insecure about themselves, it's hard for them to have that abundance mindset because, oh, I don't deserve that. I'm not good
Yeah, I
enough,
understand. This is
right?
like on the mindset part, but we can
Yes.
still work with energy alone, right?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right, which is what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
So that sense of insecurity, that negative emotion resides in our kidneys.
Uh-huh.
So that insecurity and also fear resides in our kidneys, which fear can get in the way as well of an abundance mindset, resides in our kidney and it depletes the chi in our kidneys.
Uh-huh.
So by doing exercises or when I do the energy work, if I work on purging that out and then filling it to strengthen, to tonify the kidneys, it helps, bring up that into balance. And our kidneys are responsible for our vitality, our drive, which entrepreneurs need. We need that vitality and the drive, the motivation to keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I would say is, in order for it to have an abundance mindset, you have to be able to let go and trust. And when there's a lack of trust, that emotion resides in the spleen.
Mm-hmm.
That's the storehouse of mistrust. So if there's a lot of mistrust, like, I don't believe that's going to happen. I'm asking for it, but I don't trust it. There's different ways to, that lack of trust. There's different flavors of that. So that resides in the spleen. So that'd be purging that, strengthening it so that you can then have trust. And that is conducive to an abundance mindset.
Yeah, fantastic. And when you say, when I do business work, business energy work, do you mean when you train people how to do it, or what do you mean? Or do you actually do it for them in some sort of way?
So typically when it's in the Qigong context, I have people that come to see me for the energy work. So they actually lay on a table and I'm guiding and directing chi inside and outside the body, working with their energetic anatomy. Like you mentioned earlier, just like we have a physical anatomy, we have an energetic anatomy. So I'm working with the three bodies, the spirit body, the energy body, and the physical body to do all these things that we've been talking about. But then after I finish, depending upon the situation that they're in and what's going on, I'll give them what are called Qigong prescriptions, which are essentially these exercises.
Mm-hmm.
So if they need to work on their kidneys and spleen, I'll give them the two different exercises for the kidney and spleen and tell them this is what you do it every day, for this amount of time. And then over time that'll help them because it's not a one and done thing. I can have an impact.
Yeah.
And that impact could last for, 3 days, 5 days or so. But if they do these exercises, it prolongs the effects of those sessions for, a week to 10 days. But if they continue to do those exercises, it really helps them it gives them a tool to help them own their own healing process and to continue that process and to eventually be able to be better equipped to manage through it and get to a better state of mind. But everyone's different and have different degrees of where they're at with the work that they need.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. All right. So your book, Business Kung Fu, is a bestseller on Amazon.
Yes.
Where else can people find it, or is it only on Amazon? Your website, maybe?
Right now, Amazon is the only place where people can purchase the book. It just came out 3 months ago. This is my first book.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It took me 12 years to get it done. I've actually worked on it for 12 years, but that's perseverance. That's part of, the Kung Fu. It's perseverance. I finally got it done. So there's a whole new world. I'll have it available on other places, channels eventually. But for right now, it's available in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle format on Amazon. If people want to learn about like the 5 elements that I mentioned earlier, that's in the first chapter, and people could download that first chapter for free on my website, which is c-squaredpro.io. The letter C squared spelled out pro.io. So c-squaredpro.io. And they can get that first chapter for free.
Fantastic. I love this conversation, Craig. So much to unpack in the word business kung fu.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I was looking forward to this because I read your profile and I started getting your emails. I'm like, oh, cool. This is going to be a great conversation because she'll understand.
It was indeed.
Yeah.
We touched on quite a lot.
Yeah.
Anything that like, is there anything in your mind that you feel like needs to be taken out still?
There's a lot of other stuff in the book too. Yeah, the last 3 chapters are titled the body, the mind, the spirit. So there's a chapter on each, and that's important. Again, that self-care and making sure that you have a healthy mind, body, and spirit, so that you could really be set up for success and help carry you through on that path, because that entrepreneurial journey is so challenging. It's the hardest thing I've done, because you really get put to the test, and that's where that element of faith comes in. And with faith, this will be the last thing. I think it's super important for people to understand. Having complete faith in yourself, this goes above confidence. Confidence is one thing, but knowing with absolute certainty that you can overcome any challenge requires faith in yourself. And I advocate having faith in some sort of higher power, whatever your belief system is. Those that don't have one, then at least believe in yourself. But I advocate, just based on my experience, walking a spiritual path and having a sense of a higher power and world out there that can support you, that guides you, loves you. And having that faith will help you overcome your hardest moments.
Thank you. Beautiful last words.
Yeah, thank you.
For this talk is what I mean.
Yes, thank you.
I enjoyed it, Craig.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Happy
Me
to
too.
end it with a smile also.
Great.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Grow and Learn. We hope that you found our podcast informative, engaging, and inspiring. Our mission is to help you keep growing and learning, and we hope that our conversations and insights have provided you with practical advice and useful perspectives. If you're looking for personalized support and guidance to help you achieve your personal or professional growth objectives, I offer a range of services to help. As a trusted management partner and mentor, I work with businesses in the process of transformation, looking for new streams of business, as well as M&A. With an extensive professional network of experts and mentors, I can bring on board the right person or team based on the specific needs of the company I'm working with. To learn more about the services I offer and how I can help you achieve your goals, visit my website at grownlearn.org. You can also reach out to me via email or social media. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this episode of Grow and Learn, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us, and it helps us to continue to create content that is relevant and valuable to our listeners. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to sharing more insights and perspectives with you in the future.